Hi, Gabriella. How are you? I'm glad that you're with me and Destino today.
Oh, how nice. So nice to see you. I'm glad to be here too.
Yeah, I invited you today because I wanted to talk and celebrate all that the work that you've done on TV and film. So would you be able to start with your name and what you do?
Yep, I am Gabriella Pollino-RODMAN, and I have been a department head hairstylist in Hollywood for the past 30 years and working mostly on television, primetime sitcoms, but started in New York before that on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and I also wanted to congratulate you on becoming a governor for your craft of hairstyling, which is on the board of the TV Arts and Sciences, the Emmys.
Yes.
And how did that come about, and what does this mean to you?
Well, I've always been a big fan of the American Television Arts and Sciences, the organization that has the prestigious Emmy Award. And I just always kind of thought that I would like to work there one day. So 3 years ago, I became a member of the current governor's peer group executive committee. And, I learned what was done there and how the decisions were made. And I really wanted to be a part of it. So the present governor has termed out, you're only allowed to do 2 terms. And he endorsed me for to follow him. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, I love to hear it, and I'm very looking forward to hearing all the stories and everything that you accomplish in this role. So great, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We get to, sit on the board, go to the board meetings and create policy and balance the budget. And really, I want to just be fair that like all parts of our craft is represented and everybody has a level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. I brought you on here so we could talk about a lot of your legendary shows that you worked on, and
Yes.
one of those is that '70s show. So would you be able to take me on a day one of a very special episode that you did with them?
Oh, okay, a special episode. Well, it has to be the pilot episode because this was such a new type of show that went on the air, and it's about these, basic kids in the 70s that grew up in the Midwest, and they hang out in their parents' basement. Really, they're kind of just a bunch of losers, like 5 or 6 kids, and they hang out in their parents' basement. And the first episode actually shows them not smoking. We had to edit it, but passing a joint.
Yeah.
So first we saw them smoking the joint, like put it in their mouth, but then they edited that and they passed something which you knew was a joint to the other kid, and you saw how they all reacted. And it was, I think, kind of that's what made us a hit in a way.
How did you prepare for that pilot, especially being the first episode of a brand new show?
Well, this was not only a brand new show, it was a period show. So we did this the first year, I think in 1997, and the show took place in 1974. So, I had to do a lot of research, um, but not really because I lived it. And I just created looks for um, all the different characters, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun, and because it was a period show, you really had to have the looks down, So the costume designer had all vintage clothing, and all the boys at that time, all the young men that were actors, had short hair. Like, I'll tell you what was in style. It was the Caesar that George Clooney had. Remember that really short haircut that all the guys had? So every guy that came on the show had to have long hair. And so we started out Ashton, who was a model, Ashton Kutcher at that point. We gave him a full set of extensions to make his hair into a 70s style. And I think so. I don't know if the other kids, I think he was the only one, and the other boys, we just styled it into their style. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that show, of course, went on for a lot of seasons. What would you say was the changes all the way towards the finale for these characters and their hairstyles?
Oh, well, you know what? It's very hard to keep the cast in a period hairstyle because in the beginning, it was easy because it was new and then they weren't famous. And then when they got famous, it was a bit of a struggle. But, you know, the show was so well known at the time, I think the audience went along with it.
So you also got the opportunity to work on that 90s show, which is the follow-up. So how would you be able to compare the two with your experience?
Well, so the 90s show, we did 2 seasons of it, and it was not about the kids from the 70s show. It was about their kids. So now you have another set of teenagers who are, two of them are the children of the kids from the 70s show. One of them was Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis's child, which they had one in real life. And the other one was uh, Topher Grace's daughter. But the parents came on the show, and now they're grandparents. And Deborah Jo Rupp, of course, and Kurtwood Smith. And it was well received. It really was. So even though it was a period show, the hair work was not as extensive because the 90s was a funny period. It wasn't as recognizable as the 70s. So there were just like a lot of stuff going on. It wasn't anything really distinctive.
What would you say is some of the challenges that you guys had on the 90s show, and how did you guys overcome that?
Let's see. Some of the challenges. I mean, the kids again were all brand new. Nobody was a star. And I have to say, we didn't have a lot of challenges. Everybody was so happy to be there. And then, of course, the cast of the 70s show came back and visited in and out, and which just, made it so much fun. It really did.
Yeah, that's leads up to my next question, which is what makes a great hair department in your opinion when you're the department head of it?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, first of all, you need people that are talented and people who are comfortable in performing their roles. So I was very specific as a department head. My second, who has been my second on the 70s show and the 90s show, we were such a good team because we just played off each other. We didn't even have to talk. I would do something and then she knew what to do. So it was really like a dance. And we always had a very big hair department. And basically, I did all the creating of the looks. And then my second really helped me execute and ran the show. She ran the business of the show. So I think a strong department needs to have people that are experts in their roles and willing to engage and work together, which is what I loved. There was never like an edict. It was always like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And that's the part, the collaboration really is my favorite part.
Yeah, likewise. I feel like there's always you build this shorthand with your team, and
Yes.
it's always for especially new people. Finding that team is always the challenge, but once you do find your people, it
Yes.
always goes way smoother than you thought.
Yes. Yes. So true. So true. I've been in this business 35 years out here, and whenever I can, I use the same key hairstyles. It's essential.
Well, you also have been working in features, and one of your projects was the Happy Time Murders. How do you compare working on a feature like that to sitcoms?
Well, I worked on Mike and Molly, and when Melissa asked me to department head her movie, of course, I jumped at the chance. She's just such a wonderful person, plus is really into the art of comedy and, exploring characters and stuff. And she also loves collaboration, but a film is completely different than television because television, um, comedy is always multi-camera. So that 70s show and all the sitcoms are always very fast paced. The crew goes in, hair and makeup goes in on one day, and then we shoot the show in front of a live audience in real time on the second day. So it's like doing a play. And of course, you have four camera coverage, but on a film, you only, it's a single camera coverage. So the the amount of footage that you can get in a day is very limited because every shot needs to be set up for that one camera. And it's a totally different way of telling a story. Um, it's very slow compared to television, but also very full of nuances. So it was like learning a whole new technique.
Yeah, what would you say is one of the biggest takeaways on working on projects like that? And for example, Dodgeball, which is another iconic movie that you worked on.
Dodgeball was such a fun show. It really was. Um, and actually Happy Time Murders was a fun show too, because I don't know if you saw it, but Melissa is is like a, a messed up detective who has a puppet for a partner, like one made by Jim Henson's people. So, they're just like funny, fun to do, crazy things. I mean, dodgeball, they were just running all over the place, getting hit with tire irons and stuff like that. And it's just a lot of fun to do a comedy.
How do you collaborate with the talent, the actors, and how do you gain their trust when it comes to working with them?
Well, that's a good question. You do have to gain their trust. You really do. And so I always try to let them know, I'll talk about the character with them and let them know that I'm, well informed and, I was thinking this. What do you think? Or, please let me know how you see the character. And then we meld something together. But I think you have to gain their trust by really letting them know that you're in there with them and you have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, I'm really interested to know, how do you stay inspired between projects?
Oh, I'm always inspired. I love hair and makeup and fashion. I'm always looking at magazines. I watch everything on television and every movie I can. So I'm that's how I say inspired.
Well, that leads into my next question of what made you want to work in entertainment?
I, was drawn to television ever since I was a little kid. And I was always fascinated with what was going on in this world, in this world that was not real, but I wanted to be part of it. So as I got older, I realized that wait a minute, I think I could be part of it. So I just kind of went ahead blindly and got myself a job and thought, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, who were some of your mentors early on, and what was one of those major turning points for your career?
Let me see. I started in New York and I guess I started to look up people who were designing shows. And I also was always fascinated with theater. I loved being in a theater. Just the physical presence excited me. So I started by getting a job on a Broadway show. And then I got to know the people in the industry. And when I got to Saturday Night Live, oh, there were so many mentors there, people that were just experts, and I just soaked everything in.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that time you spent at SNL, and what was one of the things that you didn't expect to learn from a environment like that, and that you took with you to all your other projects?
Well, SNL, there's no other show like it. It's live. It really, it's live. So, you just were there. The hair and makeup people just came in one day a week, like early on Saturdays, like 11:30, and we worked, and then the show went live at 11:30 at night. So I guess the big thing that I took away from that is to act fast, number one, and be sure of what you are doing. There's no room for waffling. So when you're in the middle of a show and there's a commercial, which is 2 minutes and 10 seconds, you would have to change the character's hair, which was usually a wig, makeup, and wardrobe. So there were three people humming around the character who would just stand still and let you do your thing. And you had to know step by step what you were going to do, and the time you were going to do. You couldn't second guess. You just had to get in there and do it. And then they went on stage and they were a different character. So I really did take that confidence of not second guessing. Even if you were nervous, you would just say, no, you just got to concentrate and get this done, you know?
What would you say is one of the things that made you stand out, that got you to land a job like SNL?
Well, I'll tell you, I did two Broadway shows for a year each before I went on to Saturday Night Live. And I didn't know this, but the person who was running Saturday Night Live loved to hire people from Broadway because they knew how to perform in a live situation. And that was something that you couldn't teach. You just had to know it. You had to be there and know it. So I was chosen because I was working on Broadway, and then I stayed on Saturday Night Live for 4 years, and then I became Phil Hartman's hairdresser, which he was in every scene. I'd have like 10 wigs lined up for him to be worn in one night.
And how did you build a relationship with talent like him?
We just got along. I was good at he liked the way I worked, and I was able to anticipate what was needed for him to just go out there and feel secure, and that he knew that he was looking right. I think because he knew I was so diligent.
Yeah, and I've been lucky to be around you and your work as well. And one of the things that always get me is when I see the talent walk into the room, one person, and then they walk out into this whole brand new character. You get to live that whole experience. So what is it like for you when you have the actors in that chair with you?
Oh, it's my favorite thing because I can tell you have to have this inner sense of what looks good on the person and what's going to make them feel their best. So when they come in the room, they basically just got out of the shower. And when they leave, they have to feel secure in their character so that they're not worried about their look, that they just can go out and perform. It's not only doing their hair and makeup, it's making them feel confident that they can go out and perform. You don't want an actor coming out of your room all frazzled, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I always notice that, they definitely transform into that character. And, part of it is definitely the work that you guys do,
Yes.
because without it, you kind of leave them not knowing who they are.
Yes, and they have to. agree with your version of their character. That's something that I think I'm good at. Like, it's, the characters, I love working in comedy because they always have little quirks, right? So I will make an interpretation of their hairstyle based on those quirks, and I'll build a backstory in my head. And a lot of times as I'm working, I'll share the backstory with the character. Like if they're going to a yoga class or something, I'll say, oh, she's going to a yoga class and she wants to look good, so she's going to wear this outfit and this hair. And so I think they, you know, feel secure that I'm invested.
I wanted to segue into the work that you've done for Bob Costas, who's a sports commentator, and you did travel a lot with him. You did the Olympics with him. What is it like to work with talent like him?
Oh, yes. Bob was actually the very first person I met in this business at NBC a very long time ago. And he used to have a show on television called Later with Bob Costas. The Later franchise still exists. But I ended up doing like 10 Olympics with him. He was the primetime host of the NBC Olympics starting in 1992 in Barcelona, which I went there with him. And then ended in 2016 in Rio. And one of the things that always amazed me about Bob was I swear he has a photographic memory. There were just massive binders that he had to study with all the statistics. And I'm like, I don't know how any human being can do this, but he just did it like it was, nothing. And that was so enjoyable. We went mostly in Europe. There was one in Russia, the Sochi Olympics, which was really interesting. And because of the climate that was going on then. And then we ended in Rio, which was beautiful and just, wonderful, wonderful memories.
And at this point, you're traveling with your talent now. What are the things that you prepare so that things go smoothly during these shows?
Oh, well, you have to first of all, see if in case you need to shop in another country, first of all, you have to research and see if they have the things you need. I think the only place that we had an Olympics where they actually you could like shop for stuff was in London, but all the other places no. So you have to be sure that you have doubles and triples of products and your equipment. What if your equipment gets lost? You can't have that happen. So you have to be very, very precise in that you have everything you need while traveling to another country.
Yeah, and I know that departments change from project to project, but typically, who is part of your team in the hair department?
In the hair department or in the hair department? Well, you always have the department head who's usually like the creator designer. I like to work with a second. You need a key hairstylist who is very, very strong. The two of you really run the show. And then you, depending on how big the project is, you need a third who is also very strong, and sometimes a fourth. I've always had, big departments because I've always done big shows. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's always great to hear, and especially for young people. What would you say to them? Advice to network and meet the right people if they're interested in the hair department.
Well, for young people, I think you go out and do find anything you can to that is recorded. If your friend wants to shoot a commercial or a film, or if you could get into anything at maybe your local news station or even your place of worship or the music business, anything you can that you can have on your reel. And one thing always leads to another. One thing always leads to another.
Yeah, and if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Um, I don't have any, I think everything was good. I don't, I don't have anything, um, I don't feel like I missed anything. I feel like especially LA, I feel like I just came in to town so excited and 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 so focused on doing what I always loved to do. And so I was just I think that's the advice that I would give to other people. Just be focused and know your craft. Know every single part of your craft, not just one part, because one day you may be an expert at one thing and they're going to ask you to do something else and you have to know how to do it. So know your craft.
Yeah, thank you for that because I always appreciated hearing from you and getting some guidance from you, especially early days on Mike and Molly. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what else you work on and what else that we can collaborate on in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. It was so nice to see you too.
Well, I appreciate the conversation and I'll definitely see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Hugo.